Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out with the one and only incomparable Dewey Cooper ahead of a big night on Friday night, Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. Dewey, it's great to be doing this in the company of yourself as opposed to over the magic of the internet as usual. But how are you doing and how are you doing heading into Friday night?
I'm terrific. Things are well. We've been here in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, for over 7 weeks now. Things are great. You see, I'm staying in a villa, got my own private swimming pool here. The food's halal. It's incredible. We're great. We're relaxed and we're very confident in Friday night.
You were just saying then, I had to stop because I thought it'd be a good story to get on the camera. I had a look at my jumper depicting two big legends in the sport of boxing, but you were saying that the likes of Ali and Mike Tyson have been at your fights ringside to watch you.
Yeah, well, Mike Tyson and I have been friends since the 90s. I used to fight at a company called K1. It was a big kickboxing company. Muhammad Ali, one of his granddaughters, went to UNLV, a college that I attended. We're in the Black Student Union together. Her name was May Ali, May May. Anyway, at her graduation party, I was there. Her grandfather, Muhammad Ali, was there. They introduced me to him. He found out I was a fighter because I was still fighting back then. And he asked me, when was my next fight? I said, I'm fighting in a couple of months. This was like June. I was fighting in August in the K1, Battle of Bellagio, in a big tournament kickboxing match. Anyway, I told Muhammad, his wife, and his son was there also, Muhammad Ali Jr. Anyway, I said, you have a kickboxing fight coming up at the Bellagio. Lo and behold, 8 weeks later, 9 weeks later, comes Muhammad Ali to the fight along with Mike Tyson. And Ali looked at me and pointed at me and said hello to me and everything. I have a picture on my social media with Ali and I at that graduation party of his granddaughters. And it's all over the internet. Ali coming to the K1 in 2004. It was a great night for me. I fought 3 professional fights in that one night. I ended up losing the finals in the K1 to Michael McDonald by decision. But Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali were there ringside to support me.
One of those moments that you'll keep with you forever. And, you know,
I'll never forget it. One of my greatest moments ever. I met Michael Jordan that night. He came and shook my hand. Also, one of my favorite athletes ever. So it was a great night for me that night. 3 pro fights in one night. It was an incredible night. And Muhammad Ali was there to witness it.
Indeed. And you notice my sweater. I also noticed your shirt there too. Team Combat League kicking off March 28th. The season starts, second season of the Team Combat League. Your role is now as the president as opposed to coach. How are you feeling heading into the start of the second season?
Very exciting, man. I gotta be the most blessed guy in the world. I'm looking right at the camera because I'm being sincere. I got Francis Ngannou fighting Anthony Joshua on March 8th here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And 3 weeks after that, Team Combat League Season 2 kicks in. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. My deceased mom's birthday was a few days ago, March 4th. She would have been 80 years old. And we got Ngannou, we got Team Combat League. March is going to be an exhilarating month for me. And Team Combat League season kicks off March 28th. The winners from Season 1, the New York City Attitude versus the Philadelphia Smoke. Whoa, I can't wait for that one.
Just like Ric Flair with the woo. Looking forward to the action in the Team Combat League. Dewey, I know you've done a lot of media, so I wanted to freshen up a lot of the questions that you've been asked, and I want to focus on you first of all. When it comes to training Francis Ngannou and your ethos in terms of striking, how would you describe in your own words your ethos of what you want from your fight when it comes to them hitting their opponents?
Well, like Mike Tyson said, power has no military value unless it's precisely placed. And that's all we want from Francis. We want Francis to show the world his abilities because we know his abilities. We've seen it this entire camp through sparring, through the hard work and dedication he's put in. And we just want him to have precision and accuracy in the fight coming up on March 8th. Once that happens, because I know it will, the fight will be ending.
How much of that of your ethos does he execute? And do you feel there's more to come in a boxing sense from him? Or do you feel you've got as much of the full package as you can out of Francis?
Well, you can never get the full package out of anyone because every time you train, every fight is a new life, and you have to reborn, rebirth yourself. And he's done that. He had a great camp against Tyson Fury in his first boxing outing. He had a much greater camp this time. And the next time he fights, he'll have a greater camp than this time. So he's done extremely well. He's hit all the benchmarks that we wanted of him. He's exceeded expectations. And now the rest is just in Allah's hands. He's gonna put forth his best effort against Anthony Joshua, and I'm sure he'll take his victory.
I want to talk to you about the darker side, the dark arts of boxing. I know that Tyson Fury was able to implement a little bit of that in the fight with Francis Ngannou, as does Anthony Joshua. I think his famed uppercut sometimes leads with him pulling down the head. Is that something that you've scouted ahead of this fight? And is there any part of you that wants to implement some of those dark arts in Francis Ngannou's game as well too?
As far as pulling their head down and punching, if anyone has the grappling aspect conquered or advantage, it would be Mr. Ngannou. So there's nothing that Joshua does that we're worried about. If we're worried, why did we take the fight? Why did he take the fight? Francis understands he's fighting an Olympic gold medalist and a two-time unified world champion, and that's why he wanted the fight. Francis is the one who made this fight happen. Francis put the initial call out, or I want to step into that slot open once Deontay Wilder lost to Joseph Parker. Joshua's already beat Joseph Parker, so they needed a dance partner. Francis threw his name in the hat. He wasn't recruited for this fight. So we're not worried at all about anything he does because we've already accepted the challenge. He's already accepted the challenge. So he plans on winning, therefore we plan on winning.
You guys are still the quote-unquote invaders. It feels like the boxing side of this equation sees you guys as the crossover fighters and the ones who shouldn't really have the success that you guys are having. And is that something that you relish, kind of ruffling up the scene, and keeping people shocked, keeping people's mouths dropping to the floor with what you're able to achieve with Francis?
No, I don't. You'd have to ask Francis that question because Francis is like a meteorite, a big comet that only comes once every few centuries and crashes down on the planet and have a major impact. That's what he's done to the sport of boxing. However, to me, it's never about the public. It's never about anything except for us, our team, our camp, our families, our close friends. So all I care about is that Francis wins. I don't care if the media, you guys consider him a MMA fighter still. He boxed Tyson Fury, a 10-round fight, his first fight out, and he's boxing Anthony Joshua, his second fight out, 10 rounds. If that's not boxing, I don't know what is.
With the success that you had against Tyson Fury, he's sort of very much an assured consummate boxer. AJ kind of has the ability to come forward, maraud, as does Francis Ngannou, but also maybe box on the back foot too. Because you've had that experience against Fury and the way that that fight went as well too, do you feel like you've got that part nailed if at any point Joshua decides that he wants to try and box as opposed to come forward against Francis?
Well, when you fight Tyson Fury, he's so highly dimensional. He can fight coming forward. He can get on the jab. He can fight on the back foot. He can dirty box and clinch you up. Tyson is a complex matrix to solve. Joshua is a simpler matrix to solve because he's a conventional, orthodox, basic boxer. But remember, don't misconstrue my words. Simpler doesn't mean easier. Most old school coaches will tell you the basics are what wins fights. So we view this fight as a more hard, more difficult challenge because Anthony Joshua does have lights out power. He does have a strong right hand. The right uppercut and the straight right is very deadly. He can get on the back foot, prod with the jab, hit that drop step counter he loves to throw so elegantly and so precisely. Or he can come forward with his jab, put the right hand on and add that left uppercut or that left hook. Or his left body shots, respectable also. Whatever he does, Francis can answer it for sure. Francis is an improved boxer from the Tyson Fury fight, from the experience he gained from the Tyson Fury fight, and just from believing in himself and working hard in the gym and having the right sparring. So he's prepared. Whatever style Joshua fights, I'm sure Francis will be able to complement it and give us the advantage.
Aware that Joshua had brought in a wrestling coach specifically for the Usyk fights, first of all, because Usyk is so proficient at not wrestling in the MMA sense, but clinching in that sort of sense. How much can, let's say, a novice in that sort of sense learn about clinching and mastering it when they're coming up against someone who's so proficient like Ngannou is?
We are human beings. We have the ability to assimilate information and improve and learn. And once you learn, you start to know it. If he's put enough time in to where he's not only learned it, but he knows it, it'll show. It will add value to what he does. If he hasn't put enough time in those aspects to know it, it won't help him fight night. So we have to see. It's all about the time, effort, energy, and mind power he put in. Those man hours, that sweat equity he put in. We'll see. Just like the media thought Francis, he hasn't boxed. This guy's been boxed his entire life. He has no shot. Francis proved those narratives wrong. He proved those sentiments wrong. So we're not going to discount anything Joshua does. If he brought in a wrestling coach, good for him. Hopefully he learned something from him. We already know what Francis does in the clinch, what he can do outside or inside, and what he can do with 2 fists of dynamite, meaning stopping power with both hands. So that's what's so compelling about this fight. That's what's so intriguing. And we got less than 48 hours before the world sees it.
I'll ask you when it comes to your career, whenever you were in against opponents that were bigger than you, taller than you, maybe had the physical advantage for you, what was the mentality change like? Because that's something that AJ will have as one of the few times in his career being up against in Francis Ngannou. So from a fighter's perspective, was that ever different when you had to face an opponent who had those qualities over you?
Well, I went from cruiserweight to heavyweight, so basically everyone I fought and the last third of my career were much bigger than me. I fought Gary Goodridge. I weighed 200. He weighed 261. I fought Mighty Mo. I was 200. He weighed 282 pounds. I fought some gigantic guys, much bigger and much stronger than me. So you're asking the perfect question for me to answer. What you have to do is be more cerebral, keep a pace faster and stronger than what the big, strong guy can handle, and you'll eventually break through to his weaknesses. But can you do that without getting hit and hurt? Can you do that without taking severe punishment is the big question. We'll see. You have to be defensive, you have to be sharp, and you have to lead and you have to counter. You have to control the pace. And that's easier said than done in a lot of cases. Otherwise, the small guy would always win.
Dude, that's a good point as well that you led me on to pace. We know that in the Fury fight, once he was toppled, tried to slow it right down and stop the juggernaut coming through in Francis Ngannou. Do you feel that Joshua will try and up the pace to try and give those tactics to Francis and get the edge over? Do you expect a fast type of fight?
Well, honestly, I expect Joshua to try to one-up Tyson Fury, which means he has to go harder, fight smarter. So I think early on he will try to impose his will. I just feel that way. He wants to show that Francis isn't that guy. And by doing that, he's going to put himself in a line of fire. He's fighting a guy who has power in both hands, who can put your lights out with both hands. So if that's the tactic they employ, good for them. Let's see how it works. I think, though, at some point, he will have to go boxer mode. He will have to go bull versus matador, but he still has to try to control the pace. He's the experienced guy. He's the Olympic gold medalist. He's the ex-two-time unified world champion. He has to control the pace of this fight. And we have to not allow him to do that. That's the great thing about fighting, man. Someone's going to win. Someone's going to lose. And we've trained very hard and we dedicated all our time, and Francis deserved this as much as anyone. He's worked hard. He's put in his sweat equity. He put in the right, intelligent, diligent, studious rounds. We'll see how it goes. We expect Francis to, no matter what it takes, be able to dig deep and win this fight.
There was a picture that went out on social media. I saw it, and it was a picture of Francis Ngannou, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. I think Ronaldo was in there, and Turki Al-Sheikh was in there too, His Excellency. And Andy Lee on IFL said that when Ngannou and Fury met, Tyson tried to put it on Ngannou and say, look, I beat you. You shouldn't be saying that I beat you. And look at your record. The record shows that I beat you. And then when you deal with your man, I'll deal with my man, and we'll meet again. Just at the minimum, Tyson Fury not acknowledging how close the fight was as a minimum. Does that frustrate you that, those kind of interactions are happening, and, maybe that acknowledgement of the respect from that first fight isn't fully there, I guess?
Nothing that any man does bothers me unless he's doing something to my family or something like that, or a helpless friend or a fighter who's not trying to fight him or whatever. So nothing he can say bothers us because we know the reality of it. The fans have spoken. The world has spoken. He's spoken. He said it was a tough fight. The judges spoke. 3 people decided the outcome of that fight, and one of them out of 3 had Francis winning. I mean, so for him to make it seem like it was not a hard day out for him, that's up to him to feel for himself. I'm not here to speak for Tyson Fury. Francis can't speak for him. He's entitled to his own opinion. However, we have a certain opinion and we feel a certain way. As for myself, I felt Francis won the fight. As for myself. And the most important thing in the world is how Francis feels, because he's the one putting those 10-ounce gloves on, punching the guy and taking punches from the guy. And guess what? Francis also feels that he won the fight. And these things are the intangibles that keep you confident and keep you knowing that you could be better and keep you knowing that you have true championship aspirations. And that's what Francis has. And his next challenge is Anthony Joshua. So it's not about Tyson saying this and that. Francis has one opposition, one obstacle in front of him, and that's Anthony Joshua.
I wonder what you make of the trainer change that Anthony Joshua's been through. Been through a little bit of turbulence with picking some of his trainers, from Robert McCracken to Robert Garcia, Derek James, and now to Ben Davison, who's a young coach. Some people might not give him the respect he deserves. I certainly do give him the respect as a good coach who's trying to mold him into his style. Have you kind of analysed what he's been doing the last fights with Jermaine Franklin and Otto Wallen, and do you feel that they're on the right path outside of the fight with Francis Ngannou to improving?
Well, after the Franklin fight, he fought the big guy, starts with an H, Helenius, yes. So his last 2 fights were Helenius and Wallen. Helenius caught him with a shot and shook him up, shook Joshua up a bit. Helenius took the fight on a short notice also. So Helenius didn't have a fair camp. I think he took it on like a 2 weeks notice or 3 at the max. So he took a short notice fight. So you really can't truly observe that as a true testament of what could have happened. Wallen's a familiar foe. Joshua beat him in the amateurs. He's brought him out to previous training camps to spar with him. So Wallen was a familiar foe. I'd be lying to you if I told you he didn't look spectacular against Wallen. He looked incredible. He was at peace with himself. He was calm, he was composed, he was assured, he was precise. He knew he was going to execute Wallen. But why is that? Is it because he's really that guy with that type of confidence and energy? Or was it because he was fighting a familiar foe that he's beat up many times in the gym? That will change your temperament towards a fight. The areas of uncertainty, will he still be such a strong soldier of war coming forward, willing to stand right there in front of him? We'll see. To answer your question, yes, of course we watched the videos and we assessed them and we did the best we could with Francis. He's done the best he can in training camp. Alhamdulillah, it's in Allah's hands, and we feel Francis Ngannou will win this fight. We win this fight. And that's the bottom line. That's our sentiment. That's our rally. That's what we feel. And we're not going to change that until the decision goes the other way.
Just from an MMA perspective as well, because of the success that Francis Ngannou's had, does it say that MMA fighters, the gap between MMA boxing, dirty boxing, as sometimes it's labeled as, and traditional boxing. Sometimes the traditional boxing fans will kind of look at that and look down on MMA's version of striking. But does it say that the gap is closer than it actually is? Or is this just the case that Francis Ngannou is improving it because it's Francis Ngannou? But do you feel like Fighter X from MMA could also do that if they showed the same determination that your charge does?
I would be lying to you if I told you I thought anyone in MMA could do what Francis did that first fight out against the best in their weight class. There may be some MMA guys who can fight a champion in boxing, one of the champions, but let's say the 145-pound champion Topuria, who just beat Volkanovski, fights Terrence Crawford, who's a welterweight in boxing, 147, 145, same guys. Were to fight him in boxing, his first boxing fight, a 10-round fight, though Topuria is an incredible boxer for MMA, do you think he could go 10 rounds with Terrence Crawford and drop Terrence Crawford in a fight? I've trained UFC fighters, and I would say not. I would say Francis is a special individual that people should appreciate because the things he's doing are unprecedented. They're almost impossible. But when it comes to Francis Ngannou, impossible simply means impossible. He's doing it. We're 2 days away from him doing it again against Anthony Joshua.
Dewey, finally, now I know I've asked you this before and you said to me, look, I'm not interested in the credit and I'm expecting the answer to come the same. But if you look at the start of the Tyson Fury camp and the fight and the performance and then this, and if you get the victory as you plan to do against Anthony Joshua, surely you and the team should be up for some form of recognition when it comes to the accolades of Coach of the Year and the way that you've been able to disrupt the sphere and the confidence that you've had in your fighter two and executing that confidence and game plan. Surely there should be some form of credit from the boxing world, as you're starting to get now, and the accolades that come with it. I know you'll probably say it's not for you, you're not looking for that thing, but surely it has to come.
Well, in 2016, when Jesse Vargas, my fighter at the time, knocked out Saddam Ali and won the WBO welterweight world title, we were a 4-1 underdog. Jesse shocked the world by stopping him in 9 rounds. After that, we fought Manny Pacquiao in November of 2016. I was in the selection of Boxing Coach of the Year that year. We lost the decision to Manny Pacquiao. Had we won that fight, I probably would have won it. Freddie Roach ended up winning it that year. So I've been a candidate of Coach of the Year before. At the end of the day, man, I'd rather us win this fight and me not get my name mentioned at all than to have a good fight or whatever and I'd be Coach of the Year. At the end of the day, I was a 2-time world champion. I'm a 2008 Masters of Martial Arts Hall of Fame inductee. All I care about are my fighters winning. If I receive some sort of award, reward, recognition, contribution, whatever it is, thank you. But that's just a reciprocated factor from the real thing that matters, and that's the fighters winning. I'm a coach's coach. I want to get my jaw broke, my ribs broke, my arms, my hands broke for my fighter to win. I'm willing to sacrifice anything for that to happen. And we're looking forward to Francis shocking the world again from that. And like I said, all I want him to do is get his hand raised and get all the recognition as being the baddest man on this planet in boxing and MMA. And my mission is done after that.
What a way to sign off. Dewey, the pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for speaking to Seconds Out. Wishing you all the best for today and Friday night as well too. Thank you so much once again. Much appreciated, sir.
Thank you very much. Like I said, alhamdulillah, I'm the most blessed guy in the world. We have Francis Ngannou fighting Anthony Joshua March 8th here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And 3 weeks later, Season 2, Team Combat League starts again. Will the New York City attitude show once again that the best fighters in America are from New York City, or will someone else take that crown? Season 2 coming up. Joshua, Francis Ngannou. You don't want to miss this fight. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you, Dewey.